Hello, good evening. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Really glad you're here. If you're here on this Facebook page watching this broadcast, you are absolutely exactly where you need to be. If you've been drawn and guided to come and take part in this, what is, I think, kind of a one-off, then you're absolutely in the right place, and we're really glad to have you on board. For those of you that don't know, my name's Ashley, and I'm going to be hosting the fantastic Mark Stone. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Ashley. Nice to be with you. How are you doing?
Really good, thank you. Really, really good. Yeah, I've been literally like a cat on hot tin roof today. I've been so excited to this. Really looking forward to it. So yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And hello to people that are coming online. Hello to lovely Christine. Hello to Paula. Paula, this program has your name written all over it. I'm so glad you're here. To wonderful Dawn and to Andrea. Hello to everybody that's here, that's watching. Drop us messages, say hi, say where you're from. If you don't put your name down, we don't know you're in the room. So yeah, you need to put a message on and let us know where you're from. Hello to Linda. Hello, lovely to see you. Lovely Jamie and Paula. It's fabulous to have you all on board. So what we're going to do this evening is something a little bit different. We're going to explain what it is all about. But this is kind of your opportunity, while we're just settling in and saying hello to people, to go and grab your candle and something to light it with, candles or a lighter, a glass of water, and a pen and paper. So you've got about 30 seconds to scramble around your house to go and find that, and then we can settle and we can get into it, because this is going to be a very different evening, not our normal Q&A. So while I'm saying hello, go and grab your bits of paper, and we will see you right back in about 30 seconds. Okay, see you in a bit. Fabulous. Hopefully you've all got your pens, your paper, your candle, your lighter, and a drink of water, because we are going to be here for an hour and a half. Mark, thank you so much for giving your time. So thankful. Do you know what? There was such a massive response last time that you were on a Friday night, and you were just casually dropping some amazing insights that everyone was clamoring for more. And when you started talking about trance, you kind of caught everyone up in it. So that's why we're here. Hello to Christina from Sweden. Hello, Christina. Lovely to have you. Mary from Florida. Hello, Holly from Perth in Scotland. Dawn from Rugby. Lovely Margaret. Fantastic Amanda from Northampton. We truly are reaching out through the virtual environment of a circle here. This is amazing. Thank you. Okay, so just to introduce Mark, really, I'm going to allow Mark for you to introduce yourself, really, because I probably can't give justice to all of the experiences you've had and how long your journey with trance has actually been. So would you like to introduce yourself, Mark, to the people watching?
Sure. Well, for those of you that don't know me, my name's Mark Stone. I've been working as a platform medium for 29 years, and my journey with trance has always been part of my development ever since I started sitting in my teens, but didn't always know that it was trance. So I didn't know, but I was always fascinated by trance mediumship, fascinated by physical mediumship, and reading about all the pioneers. And my first experience, I used to see, when I used to go to church as a kid, trance was very commonplace. We used to see it in the churches quite a lot. We used to see it on Sunday services when a medium would give the address. They'd stand up to give the address. They'd start to talk, and then their voice would start to change. They'd move into this altered state, and it would be marvelous. But it was seen as quite everyday, normal part of going to spiritualist church and trance demonstrations, Q&As and things like that. So it was always something I really loved, really enjoyed. And then my first experience of actually speaking in the trance state was in about 1992, which seems an incredibly long time ago now. But in 1992, I went to a Greater World Spiritualist Conference when it was being held in Bournemouth. And the late and great Ursula Roberts, who is a wonderful medium and a wonderful ambassador for Spirit World and a brilliant trance medium, was there. And I watched her do trance, and I was just gobsmacked by the experience. And in the profile, in the little syllabus rather of the week, there was a bit that said at the end of the week of this seminar, a few students could sit to look at trance states with Ursula. And I thought, well, great. And I thought, well, you know, I'm the baby of the bunch here at the seminar, so it probably won't be an option. But I went up to her after this demonstration and I said, would you mind if I was to come to that mini workshop at the end of the seminar? And she kind of looked at me like mediums of the old used to, where they look into your soul. And she went, I don't see why not. And I was like, yes, great, thinking this is going to be this little private group. And when I got to the room, whatever time it was on the Friday afternoon, it was a full theatre lecture room, and then 4 seats sat across the one side of the room. And she said, go and sit in one of those seats. And the entire student body came and sat in, and I was like, uh-oh, this is not a mini workshop. And I sat there, and the spirit world said to me, make boxes. Now, this is not something that's necessarily of great particular interest, but it was something I used to do when I used to sit. The spirit would say, imagine making a box between your hands and then crush the box. And so I'd do this. And what I'd find is when I used to do that as an mental exercise sitting, I would suddenly disappear and drift off. So, of course, make the box, drifted off into my own little space, really thought I'd fallen asleep. And all of a sudden I could hear noise in the room, as if everyone in the room was talking. And I thought, oh my God, I've fallen asleep. The session's over and I'm just woken up. Oh my God, how embarrassing. And as I sort of came to, I could see that everyone was sitting facing forward, watching the girl who had been sat next to me, sitting at the front with Ursula. And Ursula was talking. I was like, that's really odd, but why can I hear everyone talking? And above everyone was this pink and blue moving sort of haze, like a mist. And I was like, okay, I don't understand this. And I heard a voice of, in the spirit world saying to me, this is how we hear all your thoughts. In this energy, you're hearing what we hear. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then I just heard, make a box again, from out it went. The next minute, I hear Ursula going, it's all right, come on, come up to the front now. And so I came up to the front in front of the student body, and she said, right, I just want you to sit back down again and go back to exactly where you were. And so I kind of sat, and I was kind of groggy and just went, and I could hear her saying hello, and this voice coming back saying hello to her, and then realized that voice was coming through me. I could hear it. And she said, now we're going to do something different this time. I'd like this lady, and she beckoned someone up. So my eyes are closed. This voice is coming of this gentleman. And she said, now I want you to take hold of this lady's hands and just talk to her. And literally this chap, who's one of my helpers that came through, talked to her about her life and was giving her what was really a kind of an intimate reading in that setting, and bringing things through about what she'd experienced. So that was the first real experience of doing it. And it really kind of started something that I then carried on with kind of ever since in different forms, all the way through. So I did continue sitting with another local medium for a period of time. I did end up taking it into public demonstration for a period of time, but then had one particular experience which unnerved me and unsettled me in a public demonstration, where somebody argued with the guide and decided that he was going to get aggressive about it, stood up and surged to the platform, and nobody stopped him.
Okay.
And my mum used to drive me around at that point. This was before I had my own car, and she was sat at the back of the room and freaked out because this man just got up and ran. And she said he got within about a meter of me. She said, my eyes opened up. I just hissed, sit down or this is over. And then it went again, and the guy carried on speaking, but the guy stopped. But it unsettled me because I felt that the people who were running the evening or being there should have been protective of the medium. Not that it would kill me. All it would do would shake me up. But like all of you would know, if somebody said jumped on you from while you were asleep, it'd wake you up. And again, you don't necessarily want to be in that situation.
No, absolutely. And we're going to talk about some things like that, because do you know what, when Mark and I were talking about this program and what we were going to do on this course, actually a big component of it was actually talking about some of the ethics of it, some of the responsibility that comes with working in altered states, and also the personal responsibility of people watching the DEMS and people who are sitting for other people who are developing it, and actually how they're all really critical components, as well as obviously the massive input from the world of spirit and the medium. So Mark, amazing. Gosh, just thinking about that journey that you've had, actually, I don't know if 3 sessions is going to be enough, but thank you so much for this. And I think it's really important that there's not a financial cost to everything, and actually some of the wisdom and guidance that's available, like you said, from those mediums back in the day that would very kindly share that knowledge and share that wisdom and take people under their wing and guide them, and if they saw potential would help you. And we're really keen to bring that back, yeah, amazing. So fantastic. What we're going to do now is we're going to light our candles, everybody. So if you grab your candle and your match, and we're just going to light it. And the reason why we're doing that tonight is we normally do it on church services, and we don't normally do it on Friday. But the reason why we're doing that is because we're just signifying that we're in a different space, that we're going to be doing something which is special, which is just inviting your spirit friends to come and be with you very closely while we're kind of talking about this subject and while you're kind of taking it on board. So I've lit my candle. Amazing. Doing everything in reverse. Amazing. Super. So what is this course all about? So as we said, it's 3 parts. And the first 2 will be live broadcast on Facebook, and the third one will be more of an intimate Q&A, a really quite experiential process that will probably take place off of Facebook. So that will either be in Zoom or Skype or something like that, using that technology. I have created a little group which I will put in the chat. So you can join that and you can share experiences. And as Mark's giving you exercises between this session and the next session in 2 weeks' time, you've got some time to work through some of the things that Mark is going to be talking to you about, to have a go, to talk to your spirit team, to just articulate your intentions of how you want to work in this energy. And then you've got some time to practice it. But the group is there really as a really safe space for you to talk to other people on this journey as well. That's the reason why we created it, because we appreciate that working in altered states and trance is actually a quite an internal process that other people that aren't doing it don't really get it. So this is going to take the form of Q&A between Mark and I. If you have questions, please do stick them in the chat and we will get to them. If we don't get to them, then we'll either come back to you after the broadcast, or we'll weave it into some of the other sessions that we have going forward. So nothing is wasted. Please put your questions in, because this is the masterclass, the time for you to ask those questions. Mark has very kindly got some exercises, some things for you to do, so please do jot them down. You've got the beauty of the replay, so you can sit and watch it on the replay as well at a later date and just allow tonight to just wash over you as an experience. But this is very experiential. So this is not you sit back and you don't engage with it. This is about engaging with this energy and working with it. Okay, so we've lit our candles. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Mark now really how he sees trance, and really just to start off with kind of your definition, your feeling. What is trance energy? How would you describe it?
Oh, wow. Okay, so trance.
Oh, you're quite quiet, Mark. Sorry, would you mind turning up just a little bit? Sorry.
I turned the microphone down, like you said, and now I've gone too quiet. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Let me do something different. What about if I bring that closer to me? Is that better? Am I
a little bit
or not? No,
a little bit.
Let
That's
me
better.
go back into
that's better.
I've not done anything. Bear with me 1 second. Let me just change it back to where it was. Sorry, folks. Technical things.
Yeah.
I love technology. Not. Bear with me 1 second.
Amazing.
case there's a problem with this in oh, bear with me.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody that's joining us. And also thank you if you're watching on a replay. Yeah, must acknowledge Friday night is not a great night for everybody. And I know some people said, why is it on a Friday? Why is it not another night? It's just a case of fitting it all in and the availability of these wonderful mediums. So if you're watching on replay, hello. It's lovely to have you with us.
Lovely. How's that now? Is that better?
Spot on.
There we go. That was halfway between both. Lovely. So what is trance? Trance is a term we use a lot, and we talk about trance states. We talk about, in the power. We talk about influence. For me, it's not so easy just to put a little box around it and say, this is trance and this is not trance. I always like to think of everything that we do in our mediumship as a degree of influence of the other world. So whether you're a healer, whether you're a demonstrator, whether you're reading for people, whether you are a trance medium, whether you're a physical medium, whatever it may be, there is degrees of influence that come into how much we as the medium are willing to let go and surrender to the other world, to let their influence become greater upon us. So in a way, all mediumship is an altered state of consciousness, because we change our awareness from the physical everyday things around us and start to move into that inner world. So we become moving into an altered state. And as we start to become aware of the other world, as the other world's influence of their mind, of their thoughts, start to impress upon us, we are in some way entranced, because we're becoming aware of this other world. We're becoming aware of this influence with us. So there is always, I feel it's always good to say that there is levels and layers and degrees of influence in trance. And depending on the individual, depending on the circumstance, depending on how comfortable a medium may be, is how much they're willing to let go. At the end of the day, we're all control monkeys, you and I. We all want it our way. We all want to stay in control. We all want to know exactly what's going on. And sometimes that hampers maybe how much we let go, how much we surrender. Certainly the experience that I told you about, that was 10 years before I demonstrated publicly again.
Wow.
Because it shook me so much, and it made me feel uncomfortable to be in public venues where I didn't know the response of sitters. Then somebody one day invited me to a seminar. I went to the seminar and they went, our trance mediums dropped out. Will you do the trance demo? Because we know you do it. And I found myself demonstrating for the first time publicly in 10 years in front of a 90 full room of people, and it was wonderful. And the two mediums who sat either side of me said, why aren't you demonstrating this publicly? You should be doing this. And so that started me back again. So the other world, one medium was taken out the scenes, and I was left running with it. So for me, trance impinges upon all levels of our awareness. So it's not purely about trance speaking. Even in the trance control state, where the spirit world have got a good level of hold upon our awareness, we have loads of variations of ways of working. We have trance healing, we have trance mediumship, we have the trance speaking and the philosophy, we have the ability to bring through art and all sorts of experiences. And of course, if we allow that to deepen more and the potential is there, then we may even have more physical phenomena that comes through from the trance states as well. Again, if that potential and that pathway is open to that medium. So trance, I don't think, can be stuck into a box. And certainly you hear a lot of people make statements. They watch a demonstration or they watch something and they're quick to make a judgment. Is that or isn't that? I think that when you sit and you watch people time after time, you can come to know the medium. Is this like the medium? Is this very different to the medium's mind, the medium's awareness? We need to recognize these different degrees of influence that come in. So I think it's very difficult at times to truncate it and say this is trance, because we think of trance speaking as being what trance is. But there are lots of trance healers that don't speak, but they go into that space, they go into that place, and it affects them. You know, there are people like Lynn Cotterill, if you've come across her, who does artwork in the trance state. So she has two pencils, she's off, and then they click away like knitting needles. Fascinating to watch. There is a video, I think, of her doing it on YouTube, but
yes, there
don't
is.
think
Yeah.
it does justice. You need to go and see her if you can when lockdown and everything's finished. But you know, there are all manner of different things. There's the spirit artists, painters, and all sorts. So trance is a very broad term of allowing the spirit world to really work through you at a deeper and greater level to whatever it is that potential or ability within those entranced states are.
Amazing.
Does that make sense?
Do you know what? Yes, and more. And every time you speak about it, it just, because it's so dear to my heart, that you just want to talk more on it and tell me more about that, because everything is a really lived and felt experience. And I think that's the key to it, isn't it? It's that inner dialogue, it's that inner process that's happening that differentiates it. So I'm going to come back to what you were talking about, which is other forms of trance. And you mentioned trance mediumship, trance clairvoyance, and this is a really controversial one. Very controversial, because I know that myself and my mum, we've talked about it in the past. Could you just clarify the difference between that and your normal type of platform mediumship?
Okay, so the theory that comes along with this is that trance clairvoyance will often be a very sort of direct form of clairvoyance. Now, sometimes you will see mediums where they have the trance guide or control passing on the messages from the loved ones. So there are videos of Gordon Higginson doing this with his guide Paddy, giving information. I mean, Gordon was a remarkable platform medium anyway. I mean, names, the dresses, everything, the lot. And Paddy was the same and was fascinating to watch. I never got to see him personally. I never got to see these lovely recordings and hear from the people that sat with him. And so there would often be that. There's also a level in trance where some people refer to it as trance mimicry or trance puppetry, but where the person themselves is able to get control of the medium themselves and speak through them more or less directly. Now, I haven't seen many mediums that I've seen doing that in public. I know these things do happen in private circles and groups. In my own private circle that I used to have years ago, on only 3 occasions though, we had people's loved ones take control in the trance state. But I have to say, interfering Nignog here was like, no, I'm getting in the way. And I did get in the way of what was going on. I was thinking, you numpty, what are you doing? So again, that letting go to, because it was someone that I didn't know, my mind was questioning all the time, who are you, what are you doing? So there are mediums I know that are working and teaching about trance clairvoyance. The theory, as I say, is that the level of information, the degree of accuracy should be incredibly high level and should fit. And again, I've seen a couple of demonstrations where that's happened. Sometimes it's worked, sometimes it doesn't. Again, maybe the mind of the medium has been involved that makes it more problematic. Again, every time we're going to work, it's going to be a different experience. And again, how we let go to it. This is why I think when we sit with the trance state, the home circle is a really good, safe environment that allows people to let go. When it goes into the public environment, sometimes I think there's a little bit of an edge in the medium's mind as well about wanting to be right, wanting it to be good. And of course, that pressure, just like a mental medium on a platform, can interfere with what a medium does. And you know, there's a wonderful medium who's on here in the crowd tonight, lovely Ron Jordan, who
Hello, Ron.
Arthur Finley College and Paynton. Hello, Ron. And again, remarkable trance medium, and gave wonderful demonstrations. And again, you know, he would be the sort of person to also ask about that sense of that letting go and the time that it takes to really develop and to go into those states. I remember Ron saying that in his first circle, he wasn't allowed to speak or give anything off for a year. He was just told to sit there and learn how to blend. And good on the circle leaders of old that were rigid and made these great foundations that we're going to talk some of those things over the course of today and maybe the other courses, the other evenings as well.
Fantastic, thank you. I just thought that was a really important point to clarify, because there's a lot of part of the thing what we're going to be looking at tonight is really diving into some of these myths or things that are kind of bandied around and kind of all the urban legends, and really just unpick them, because it's really important. You say beautifully that you're a rational medium, you know, and you've got to have your feet on the ground, and you've got to, especially when you start looking at working in altered states, you really have to be very grounded and very confident and focused, and know what feels right, and research and talk to people about it. Okay, so we've kind of had a look at what is trance. So really, we've looked at the potential of trance, and how do you know that somebody has the right energy matrix, the right makeup, the right whatever it is that the spirit world do the finger of the lottery and say you've got the potential to do it? What are you looking for as a tutor in a circle? What kind of things are you looking for?
It's very difficult to describe, because again, everybody has levels of the ability. The same with mental mediumship and demonstrating mediumship. But it's, again, there's not always necessarily, some things you can feel that someone has a great energy to them that might lead in that direction. But the difficulty that we often have, and we have to look at this, is that we're in a modern day circumstance where a lot of people decide what they want. And a lot of people are picking and choosing what they think they want to do as a worker for the spirit world. Whereas, you know, going back in the way of development, you'd sit and you would see what unfolds, and you would let it unfold. It's like when later on, when we talk about sitting, we're going to sit for spirit. We're going to talk about how to sit for spirit, not necessarily that we're sitting solely for the trance state, or solely for this, or solely for that. And so what you used to find, and again, if you look at stories of different mediums of the past, and again, some of the mediums that have been demonstrating for many years, as you sort of sit, things start to unfold and point you in certain directions. And again, you know, the desire, you know, mediumship has become incredibly popular in the public eye, you know, mediumship on television demonstrations. Everybody wants to be like the ones that are on TV, maybe. We don't necessarily see trance so much in that forum. But of course, trance and physical mediumship has got a huge fascination, and there is a bit of a renaissance of it going on, I'm pleased to say, in many cases. So it's about, you might be drawn to it, but again, we need to be able to sit and take it to the other world about, are we? You know, when I see certain people, there are people, as they sit, the depth and the power that surrounds them could lend itself to saying there could be an energy of trance here. But does the individual want to go down that route? Remember we said about the little control monkeys that we are? For a lot of people, you know, I know people that want to be a trance medium, but they don't want to sit and meditate, and they also want to be in control of it, or they want to be totally out of it and no part of it. But all mediumship is a conscious cooperation between us and the other world. So we have to be willing to go there, or to allow, and we have to be part of it at some level. You know, no matter how deeper into an entranced state we go, our mind, our consciousness is still involved. We are the medium, we're the intermediary. So even when I used to sit at the Noah's Ark Society, which was wonderful days, I really miss the seminars that we used to go to there. And even, you know, someone like Colin Fry would tell you that even in a totally unconscious state in a cabinet, his mind, he believed, could still affect the outcome of that seance.
Amazing.
Even though he was seemingly fully unconscious, he believed that because it was still coming through the mind of the medium, still being manipulated by the spirit world, the energy, etc., it still was coming through the medium, and the medium could still influence and affect it. So we have to be willing, as students of trance, or developing trance, unfolding it, however you wish to put it. And I count myself in that. I'm still unfolding what's there. There's loads more that I'd love to see and experience. We wait and see what happens. But as we sit and work with it, we're then seeing what the other world can do, what the other world is able to affect with us. And we need to realize that we are in there, in part of this. We are part of it. And therefore, as this is why, when you said about being rational and feet on the ground, we also need the people around us in our circles.
Yes.
If we're
Yes.
lucky enough to have a circle, and I know we'll talk about these things as we go on, but to have circle leaders or people who are feet on the ground, who are going to be honest with us, not hurtful, but honest about what we see, what we feel when we're sitting, because we need people to be able to say to us whether something is, you know, are they going into a deep trance state or are they actually falling asleep? You know, is there really something going on in the energy or is there not? And
Yeah.
again, we're able to give people nudges, we're able to support people or encourage people. But again, if we go back to the old ways of looking at all of this, the important thing is to continue to sit and let something unfold without jumping to conclusions. Unfortunately, again, because of the wanting to get somewhere these days, people are wanting to jump to conclusions. This was happening, so it must be trance.
Yes.
That was happening, so it must be trance. You know, people sit in a circle and they might see a lot of energy building around someone's throat. You've got to speak in the trance state. Well, it's also the center for clairaudience.
Yeah.
So there could be something to do with inspirational speaking or clairaudient ability that's developing with that medium. But again, somebody might jump to the wrong conclusion and start trying to push them. And I've had loads of people that have come to me over the years that said, I've been told I'm a trance medium. Am I or am I not? And I said, well, it's not up to me to tell you. All I could do is sit, watch and observe and give you feedback. But again, you've got to sit and look. And one person I can remember coming and they said, well, that's not what I want to do. And I said, then you don't have to. You know, you don't have to. There's nobody in the spirit world is telling you you have to fulfill this role. You might, before you have come to this world, decided that that's the role you're going to have, and maybe as the years go by, suddenly those things change for you. But it's about our own personal desires, as opposed to sometimes where we're being taken on our journey and our mediumistic journey. And there's people on here I know that have sat for 30, 40 years or more. And they will see and be able to tell you that journey changes. Where you thought you were going 1 minute, the next year you're going in a different direction. The next year you're moving somewhere else. Life happens. Life often gets in the way, but we're here to live life as well. So again, we have to move through these different stages. And so for me, the sitting for my trance has been, as in a group sitting for me, has been very on and off throughout the years, depending on what's been going on in my life. And the same for people here. You know, we are going to look at the idea that we can sit and blend and attune in our own space, as well as the idea of sitting with a group. So, you know, we have to. I'm always very wary of telling a student you are this or you are that, or you should be doing this or you should be doing that, because what I don't want to do is push them and narrow their field of exploration. I want them to come to that conclusion, or I want them to sit with the other world and say, show me the way, lead me. You know, because the spirit world know what's even greater than we do as teachers and things. The spirit world know what's possible, what's that true potential. You know, someone might have a trance potential, but it might not be for 20 or 30 years down the line that's ever going to occur. And of course, what if someone then is so fixated about wanting it now when it's maybe on their pathway further on? You know, the spirit world going back used to tell people, you know, I can remember being told when I was 17, something that would happen when I was 35. As a 17-year-old, 35 was ancient and a lifetime away. Now I'm 45. That seems like a long time ago. But at that time, you know, I was told things about what would happen, and those things happened 17, 18 years later to an extent, you know. But again, I had a lot of things that changed in my life. So the same for everyone here. You know, be aware that your life, as it changes, as your circumstance changes, the ability and the time that you can give to sitting, your development, etc., may change. But that's okay. That's part of life. Don't ever feel guilty if suddenly life takes you off the spiritual pathway for a period of time. You're never off the spiritual pathway. That aspect of life is part of the spiritual journey. But you may not be able to give the time to your development. You may not be able to get to circle. You know, a lot of people I know at the moment with the lockdown, they've not been, because they've got families to look after and things, they've not been able to sit in even the online circles. They haven't had the time.
Yeah.
And I've said to people, don't feel guilty. Oh, I feel awful that I'm letting the other world down. You're not. You're not letting the other world down. You know, you're having to deal with everything that's going on, families and loved ones and everything else. That's okay. And the spirit world see and understand that. You know, they understand that need that you have to sometimes step away and deal with life. And you're not going to lose anything. You know, sometimes people feel if they don't sit for a period of time, they're going to lose their ability. They're going to lose their connection. You know, and I can remember years ago when I was going to go to university. I went to a drama college for a year, and a medium told me just before I went that for a whole year I would have no involvement with the spirit world work. And this was just after I'd started doing some church services and things, but then going off to college. And I can remember at the time thinking, well, I'm going to a place that's really known for its spirituality. So there's going to be stuff I'm going to be doing. I went to this drama college. I couldn't stand it. I realized it was the wrong thing. After 2 months, I came back, but I was ill and I got post-viral syndrome for a year. And I was basically sort of out of action. And so for a whole year, I almost did nothing, no workshops, didn't go to any churches or anything. I literally went into kind of shutdown. And of course, my biggest concern was just as I get going with all of this stuff, I'm now kind of shut down and it's not going to happen. The minute I went back to sitting, it was all there and it all carried on stronger than before, in fact. So the experience of life will often be part of the unfoldment within you as well, which in itself, in turn, will promote development and unfoldment of your mediumship.
Oh, fantastic. And do you know what? That's really important because there's at least 2 people I know who are online this evening who, through just circumstances happening, they had amazing circles where they were starting to get some real progress with kind of the releasing and the letting go, and the voice was coming and it was all coming on brilliantly. And then life happens and one domino went and then all the other dominoes went. And then all of a sudden they weren't in circle and they've been in a real wilderness for many years. And they're kind of thinking, has it gone? Should I start again? Is this a sign? You know, is this, I'm not meant to do it? But you're right. As soon as you put your bum back in that seat again, time only means anything to us. To the spirit world, it means nothing.
I had a friend of mine, another trance medium, a gentleman called Peter Egan. We were on a seminar at Paignton and we were sat on a bench, and he said to me, he said, I don't wish to give you bad news, but by Christmas, you won't have a circle sitting for you. And I got 8 people sitting for me on a weekly basis for trance and potentially physical. We were sitting to see what might happen. And I was like, oh, okay. And I thought, funny thing to say. So this group, suddenly, only after a couple of weeks, one person said, oh, I'm not going to be able to sit anymore. I've got changes in my work. And then another couple of weeks later, another one went. And another one went, and another one went. And the week before Christmas, I'd still got 2 sitters. And that couple were not working or anything. They were both had disabilities, that impaired them physically. But they would come and sit, and they were brilliant batteries for the power. They were wonderful. And I thought, well, I've still got my 2 sitters and it's the week before Christmas.
What do you know, spirit?
Prophecy not fulfilled. And then literally a couple of days before Christmas, I had a phone call from them saying, we're not going to be able to sit anymore because we've decided to start a business from home and we need to be here of an evening taking phone calls so that we can farm this business and work this business. And so I was like, okay, point taken. The following year, I then had to start a load of work on something, which meant I was working almost every evening when I had the centre. So again, the spirit world knew what was coming, was able to pre-warn me through that wonderful message from Peter, which I didn't think was wonderful at the time because I thought, that's not nice to say that. But it was pre-warning me. It was telling me that this was meant to be and here's the reasons why. And of course, once
don't despair.
Started, then I wasn't able to sit. So the other world already knew that and it was all being dealt with as we go.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, it kind of gives you hope, doesn't it? It makes you think it's not all happening because there's anything I've done wrong. Actually, it's just all of the different chess pieces and how it all energetically lines up for that particular time. I'm going to jump straight to a question I've got, only because the lovely Dawn Critchley, hello Dawn, basically saying she's finding it hard to find a circle that she connects with. And I was going to ask this really, and I'm asking this as a dedicated circle leader. I love sitting for other mediums. I think to me it's the greatest gift that we can have from the spirit, that you get to have a front row seat to watch somebody taking their first steps on the pathway, and then you get to be part of a wonderful circle. What are the things that make up a really good circle? What kind of things are you looking for someone who's interested in being a sitter and wants to be the best sitter they can be, or someone who's looking for sitters to sit for them?
Well, I think you have to look at what's available in your area. If you've sat and tried different circles that might be around you, Dawn, one of the things that I've often said to people is, even if there's only one other person that you know who you trust, the two of you can make a circle. You know, you can sit, and we're going to talk about this, you can sit on your own to develop that blending and encourage that blending. And I have a little dictaphone that even now I've done on the odd occasion for friends when the spirit would have said we want to talk to them. I said, well, it's going to be a bit difficult. I just record it and send it to them. And so there are options like that, but it is lovely to have that feedback. So if you have even just one other friend who you trust and you know you're comfortable with, you can sit together and even sit for each other in turn. You know, I know many mediums over the years that I've known, we've sat together in little groups of either 2 or 3 and just sat for each other in turn, just to give each other the support, to give each other the encouragement. There's always a need, I think, that we need to have that kind of, as you say, Ashley, the willingness to sit for someone else. Again, most people aren't always up for that, but there are lots of people, if you ask, because a lot of people that are going to circle all want to do something, they all want to develop something. But over the years, I found people who love just being an observer, that they love to observe, they love to watch, they love to listen. So again, you don't always have to sit under the guidance of another medium. Depends on how your link is with the other world, and also if you're reading and bringing in information from other sources. So long as you and whoever else you're sitting with has good feet on the ground. If you've got a circle leader, if you've got say a few people, you need to almost nominate one of those people to be the boss of all the others. Purely from the point of view that as the trance medium, if you're going to sit, you don't want to have to be dealing with everybody else's stuff. That's your circle leader's job. So that, you know, if someone's got an issue with someone, or someone doesn't like the way someone sits there and whistles through their teeth as you're sitting in the circle, or whatever it may be, or someone comes to circle every week with the strongest perfume that could knock everyone out, then that's the circle leader to kind of deal with that. So it takes the pressure off of the medium. It would be helpful if the circle leader was to have a good understanding about trance. But again, bear in mind, when circles were being held donkeys years ago, people often used to sit that were just a group of family members or a group of friends. There weren't necessarily, you know, professional mediums or circle leaders as such at that time. It would often be people that would just sit together to see what would happen. And then the spirit world would bring the education, the understanding, the knowledge through, either via the trance state or being impressed to the medium or to the circle leader or to the sitters maybe as a whole. You know, so that development, I know that's a lot about your experience, Ashley, about sitting and having that sort of upbringing in that. And so again, you know, when we're looking, you know, you can sit on your own and then go to, say, where you've got trance workshops. But the difficulty with a trance workshop, and this is no disrespect to any trance workshops, because I do them and I know loads of other people do, but we only get to have you for a day or maybe 2 days, or if you go to the college, if you go to the Arthur Findlay College, you get a week sometimes. I used to love our trance weeks. I mean, you know, Ron was one of the teachers with Glyn on the trance weeks, and I just loved sitting, and we'd come out of these darkened rooms that we'd been sat in, out into the sunlight going, oh, the light, like a mole coming up from underground. But they were wonderful because you were immersed in that power. and you were able to see what could come. But again, these are only snapshots in time. So workshops and weekends and things like that can be a good place for you to go and get some learning, get given maybe different mediums' points of view. Bear in mind, every medium has their own opinion on this. You know, what I'm saying is through my experience of sitting with people like Ursula, Ron, sitting with Glyn, who used to work with the trance state as well, Leah Bond, she used to go into the trance state, Muriel Tennant, the beautiful Muriel Tennant, absolutely adored her, and her teaching on trance was wonderful as well. All of these people and many, many more. I'm not offending anyone who I miss out, but so many people who, when you saw them work, and they would inspire you. And so sometimes going to those workshops and things can inspire you, but a tutor's only got you for a short period of time. So we can encourage you, and we can say and give you pointers and give you observations. But of course, we're not in the circle with you every week. So we may not know. And sometimes, you know, when people go to workshops and seminars, sometimes the nerves get the better of them. They're not used to being in a group of strange people and then being asked to sit and to let go. That can put some people off. You know, for other people, their own mind gets in the way, and they start to sort of, the mind plays up a bit, and things happen. And again, that can, we then as tutors have to kind of deal with things that might come up that are a bit different and need to be sorted out and put right.
Yeah, the energies are so subtle, aren't they? And I suppose being in a home circle or a home environment, or sitting kind of by yourself in a focused way, means that you're kind of dampening out all of that other distraction, and actually you're just focusing on the job in hand, as opposed to being in a massive workshop with lots of people you don't know, where you've got to kind of get over that and then get over yourself before you start working with spirit.
Absolutely. And again, Dawn, you know, this technology of doing things like with Zoom and things like that, I still run my private groups with my students still online, including our trance development students. It's not the same, because I love sitting in a room in a circle and you feel that massive atmosphere change that comes as that power builds. But what's interesting is we still are getting those feelings and those sensations, even when we're sitting in several different rooms in different parts of the country. So again, there's potential through this new technology, and there are, I know that even sort of back as far as last year or before, people were starting to set up like Zoom circles and things like that. So again, I'm a traditionalist. I just love sitting, doing the work, and then sitting and nattering with tea and biscuits afterwards, you know, any excuse for biscuits and cake. So I haven't had that for months. Terrible, really. Good for weight loss. But, you know, this is what happens when we have this connection. It's about building that connection, building that support, and letting the other world guide it. You know, just because there's a potential there for certain aspects of trance, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you develop trance speaking, that you are necessarily going to be pushed in the direction of standing up on a platform to do it, or sat on a platform. Some people, that would be the worst thing in their mind, is being in a public domain, because of what they might think others may think of them and the work. But, you know, there are you can record. I recommend everybody records their circles. They record them. You know, you can get dictaphones really cheaply. Record what you're there. Often as the medium, you won't want to listen back to what you've said, because none of us like listening back to our own voices. I hate when I leave a message on my answer machine to remind me of something, and I go, "Who's that?" "Oh yeah, it's me." So I don't tend to listen back to stuff, but I've got a record of almost everything that's ever come up in Trance Circle. Inspirational writings, everything like that. All of these things might end up becoming something, a book, a blog, whatever, that goes out into the world, because there are a lot of people I know who receive information, whether it's inspired writings, inspired speaking, trance speaking, and they often say, I don't know what to do with any of it, because I don't want to go out there and work on platforms. I don't want to go out there and run groups, but I feel it's important this work gets out there. And then I say to people, well, you know, if you don't want to write and publish a book, because, you know, people might not want to go down that route, you know, we even have ebooks now. It can all go on there. Get someone to write it all up for you, or create a little blog or website. You know, doesn't have to cost you anything, but can put your stuff out there to the rest of the world. So there are lots of ways in which your work with the other world can have benefit to other people, where you're not having to necessarily go out there and be the demonstrating medium. You know, demonstrating trance mediums are not as common as they used to be. I think there's you know a build, hopefully, of some good mediums that are out there and doing. And you know, and it'd be lovely to get back to seeing things, you know, and seeing good demonstrations and interesting demonstrations, and seeing it back in our churches a bit more.
Hallelujah. Yeah, I'm up for that.
Absolutely. Well, it was interesting. I watched the SNUI discussion on trance a couple of weeks ago, and something was said that surprised me, was that trance fell out of fashion on the public platform for addresses. I remember being in the churches at that time when it supposedly fell out of favour, and actually we were told, us working mediums, that especially those of us that were interested in trance, that actually we weren't allowed to go into the trance state for the address, that it wasn't appropriate, and that it had to be a trance demonstration. Apparently there's never been a ruling that's ever said that. So a lot of people that were doing it were kind of dissuaded from doing it, and dissuaded from going into those states. So hopefully, knowing this, now it's being discussed openly from the SNU, I hope that maybe it will bring it out a bit more and get people to understand the great benefit of listening to the other world, the philosophy, the inspiration, the teaching that is there. Our movement is really based, so much of it on trance writings. And you know, when we go back, Emma Hardinge, Britt and Andrew Jackson Davies, as we go back through all the great mediums, Estelle Roberts, and
we
so
think
many more.
Birch. How many people read Silver Birch books?
Absolutely. And White Eagle. So many. So many. Arthur Finley with John Sloan. I know he was direct voice medium, but again, it's that extension of those states. You know, these are all the things that, you know, we've sort of shied away from. And again, maybe because of the culture of celebrity, a lot of people are quite drawn to the platform and things like that. But trance mediumship and the real dedication that it takes, and the trance healers and the trance speakers, and it's a wonderful thing to start to unfold. It's really wonderful. But again, it's about where it will lead. We don't always know when we start. And we shouldn't have to be going, well, I've got to get to there. I've got to get to that point. Otherwise, it's worthless. No time sitting for the other world and with the other world is ever wasted. None of it is. So even if you sit and, you know, you think you know where you want it to go, it might go in a different direction, but nothing is ever going to be wasted. So, you know, if we sit for the spirit, if we sit for our own unfoldment of whatever the potential is, then we can explore these potentials as they come up within our awareness.
Fantastic. Thank you. Some amazing gems coming, some amazing gems. Thank you for everybody that's turned up. Thank you for everyone that's watching. I agree with you, Mary Island, more in churches. Certainly, just for the record, if anyone comes to our church and they feel moved and inspired, then the floor is yours. And I always say that the floor is yours to use the time. And I think it's a responsibility of the people chairing in churches to explain what is happening. So when the medium is moving into an altered state and being in tune with the medium as they're stood next to you on the platform, to understand what's happening, to be able to advocate for the audience and explain what, ladies and gentlemen, what you've just witnessed is, or ladies and gentlemen, the medium is moving into a different energy, or it's just really to dispel some of the myths about it, that it has to happen in a darkened room, it has to happen in a cabinet, that actually, like you say, it's a very gentle moving from one energy to another. It's not, that can be bells and whistles, can be.
Yes. But there's so many instances. I'll tell you of two instances where the natural flow from one to the other. Often when we'd be at the college with Glyn would be talking, and Glyn had an illness which affected him similar to a stroke. So it pulled down the one side of his face and affected his speech. But often when he was talking in the lecture, he'd be talking, and then suddenly you'd go, the vowel sounds in his voice are getting stronger where they were weaker. And then you'd start to hear certain tonation changes, and you'd think, oh, I know what's happening here. And so slowly, he was just moving into that old state. And the next minute, he would be a different person speaking.
Yeah, amazing.
And the strength and the voice and everything, even the side of the face that had come down would lift up and become more whole. And another medium who I saw that with and was wonderful was Shirley Chubb down in Devon. And we were on a seminar down in Devon. It was a wonderful seminar. And we a bank of us teachers for the seminar were sat behind Shirley, and she was introducing the week, and giving everyone the sort of the rundown of the rooms and the meal times and the keys. And she's talking away, and I'm listening, and I'm thinking, that's really funny because her voice is changing very slowly. And Shirley's got sort of a Devonian accent, and yet her vowel sounds were becoming very clipped and very sharp. And I kept listening. I thought, that's really strange. Her voice is changing. And then in the middle of telling people, I think, about remembering to return their bedroom keys if they leave the hotel, all of a sudden, then it moved into this Scottish brogue.
Lovely.
And it was her guide who was worked with her with healing and diagnostics and things like that. And he welcomed everyone to the week and what a wonderful week it would be. And then as easily as he moved in, he moved out, and she carried on talking about the keys. It was wonderful. But it showed that level of blending, and this is the same when we look at the idea of platform, as we're saying, maybe moving into it for the altered state.
Yes.
We can move into the inspired state and kind of like mediums when they're on a platform, they're kind of in their own little world, looking at what they're looking at, feeling what they're feeling. They're kind of in between the two worlds, if you like.
Yeah.
I think we can have that. So the inspired, so we don't necessarily have to go off into a fuller, deeper trance. But I think that, I can remember people being told off for closing their eyes during the address. So, and I probably got told off more than once for that, but, we'll check that's back. But I'll do whatever happens. But, when that power comes, it starts to move you, and it starts to quicken. It starts to affect. That influence is growing. Again, you can still be in that conscious state and still be working in a level of entrancement as we go. So I think that, and as you said, the education of the chairperson and the congregation is really important, because if we don't see something, we don't know how to deal with it. We don't understand it. I think this is how we come into this. Sometimes go, this experience happened. It was really freaky. It was really weird. You talk to another medium and they go, oh yeah, that happens. That's normal. And then you realize, oh, it's not freaking, it's not weird. But if you imagine when people see a medium who may sit for the trance state, and they're sitting there and they're watching them, and then they're seeing the medium sort of go quiet and go still, and then they might start to see as if the facial features of the medium's changing, and then suddenly the voice that you were listening to may or may not have changed into a completely different personality and nature. For some people, that would freak them out because of not understanding that the medium is allowing the mind of the other world to work through them. It's not like a possession. People have this idea that the spirit world are possessing you. People have watched Ghost far too many times and think the spirit jumps in your body and moves you about. We've
got a whole list of myths that we're going to be busting written down here. So stay tuned for that.
So we have to realize that it's this blending of mind, this blending of energy. And as we're then blending, we're becoming, becoming the instrument, we're becoming influenced. And the more that we do that, the more that we're moving into this state, degrees of it, So again, we don't have to always be deep and out for something to be wonderful and lovely and pure. People have this idea that, if you're out of it, it will be pure spirit. Pure spirit can't be anything else. But again, the medium's mind is still in there somewhere. So if the medium's mind is very strong, the medium, and all of our minds are strong, let's be honest, that things are going to come through because it's part of the medium's own makeup. So, we've got to be able to understand that level, that degree, and just let everything be as it is as we're working. Let it unfold. Don't be quick to judge it. Don't be quick to quash it. Let it open. Let it be gentle. Let it be something that we encourage. If we're far too quick to judge, we'll put some people off. And we may put people off who are the trance mediums of the future.
Absolutely.
Says he, 45. I'm looking for the next generation behind us now. But, we've got to keep, because these things nearly die out if we're not careful. Traditions of things, the ability to do things will die out if they're not shown. The spirit world will keep teaching them. But of course, we still need the support of people here to encourage us to the potential, the possibilities.
Absolutely.
There's so many more possibilities that we really don't see and we don't hear about being demonstrated these days.
No, that's true. That's true. We've got, it's looking really for, like you say, the Renaissance. It's a lovely way to put it, the Renaissance. So before we move on to looking at some of these myths and actually how we can get cracking and how between now and 2 weeks' time we can get cracking for ourselves, Phil Anderson has asked a really good question. Which is, how do you recognize the calling cards of trance? Are they the same as you get when you're working and blending mediumistically, or you're sitting in circle? Are they different? What kind of things? Could you get?
For me, when you are looking at how it affects, because you see, everyone's entering into those states is different. So this is the same when we're going to talk about going into meditations and practices. So for me, when I sit, I have a feeling that comes to me that is an emotional feeling that I recognize with one of the people that works with me in the spirit world particularly. So as I'm sitting and letting go, I'm kind of aware of the changes of the emotion, aware of the changes of the feeling of thoughts in my head even before I start to sit, because the other world are even building the power for you to build and to work. So I often find that when I used to sit every week for trance and physical, my mind would start to be affected, sometimes up to 2 hours before I'd sit. It'd almost be like I was starting to lose track of time, lose track of what I was saying, what I was thinking. Anybody that's come and seen me demonstrate trance knows that as I'm explaining the bits beforehand, I start to glaze and I start to sometimes not make sure whether I'm making sense. And I know that that's an effect in my mind that's starting to happen as the surrendering, that letting go is coming in. And then I feel that I almost sit back. Now, for some mediums, they feel like they disappear down. For other mediums, they feel like they go off and up, out to the side. They go off on a journey. They go off on a scene and disappear off into the ethers and the primrose path, wherever it may be. Now, that's because every medium's way of entering into the state is different. And that's where we have to be careful, because if, when mediums were, I can remember people saying, right, to get into trance, you need to go down 10 steps. And then you imagine going down another 10 steps. Now, that's fine if your energy, when you go into the trance state, takes you down. But what if you're someone who feels like you're being drawn up and out?
Yes.
So you're almost telling them to go in the opposite direction mentally and energetically than the way that the spirit world are working with them, taking them that way. So again, this is where sometimes somebody can explain to you their way, but you have to then sit and work with it to find out if it's your way. Brilliant. And and again, this degree of influence, I often will get little whispers, little thoughts that I know is something that's connected with the trance state, that's something that's moving. Again, you may feel certain energy building in certain energy centers in a particular way that then becomes that calling card for you, that then makes you realize, oh, something's happening here. Oh, I can feel this. When I first used to sit years ago, whenever I was sat in a circle, if someone was going to speak in that circle, this is not me taking the circle, this is me being a sitter in it, the spirit world would show me a face of a wolf. And literally, the minute I would see the face of a wolf in my face, in my mind, I would know someone was about to go up, and I'd sit and I'd open my eyes and I'd be sitting staring at them going, who is it?
Who is it?
And then literally moments later, someone would start to talk, or the circle leader might be off in the trance state to speak. So for me, but I don't see that now. What I feel when I sit and with a group of people or whatever, you feel this energetic pull and push, and you feel almost all the energy starting to build with maybe one individual in the group or at the workshop, and you think, oh, here we go. And you can feel it almost ramping up.
Yeah.
And you can feel that power ramping up. Now, again, some trance is very gentle and is very small. Others, it's almost like they're having to almost kickstart the energy within the medium. So again, for everyone, it's going to be different, the ways of going in, and what you associate with your guides and helpers as a calling card. You know, again, we can condition that. We can ask the other world to give us very significant pointers that reassures us in a way. They don't need to, but we might need them for our peace of mind.
Permission, giving ourselves permission.
It's a bit like the change of voice. Sometimes the other world have said to me, we don't really always need to change your voice to do this, but we want you to be reassured it's not you.
So that was another myth I was going to be asking you about, and we're kind of there. And you mentioned it with Glyn, and how actually because of the physical condition he had as within his physical body, it was noticeable. And this is something I kind of want to bring up, but it doesn't always happen. You don't always get a physical manifestation of a stroke or feeling bigger or smaller or facial changes. And actually some of that isn't an objective change. Some of that is a very subjective change in the mind of the people witnessing the person in the chair. So it doesn't always happen. And we need to kind of move away from expecting that to be a sequence of events that happens before you speak.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, it's like, you know, years going by, when we sit for any form of development, for any form of unfoldment, we are changing the energy and the power. As we're blending with the other world, and especially when we're starting to move towards these entranced states, we're often having to surrender and let go. Now, bear in mind that you as an individual are hardwired with the fight or flight response to be in control all the time. And when a situation, we step towards the unknown in any aspect of our life, let alone the spiritual unfoldment, this adrenaline rush, this kick of energy can come in with a raised heartbeat, a raised breath, because we're sometimes struggling to surrender, to let go. It's a perfectly natural thing. However, that exacerbated breathing and heart rate and everything else doesn't necessarily have to be how it's always going to be, because once you get used to a situation, then you don't necessarily have to have that. But I can remember sometimes going to see trance mediums who would snort and make noises and contortions and things that were, to watch, quite distressing.
Yes.
And what was happening, in my belief, and it's opinion, was that they got so used to those initial experiences of exacerbated breathing, the struggle of having to let go, and almost the struggle of the spirit world having to really wrench them out the way, that they've held on to that as being the way that they go into trance. Whereas actually, if we become so blended with those who we work with, it becomes a more natural and a more smoother experience, God willing, for us all as we go. So that, you know, we're not being jarred about, we're not being jerked around all over the place. And, you know, depending on that degree of influence, depends on what might happen within that. You know, the change in the body, the change in the voice may or may not be significant or important. You know, it may not be the most important thing. You know, we need to look at the fact of listen to what's being said. I always find that sometimes if people's own mind, and I know someone talked about the mind coming in, everything has to come through your mind. Everything has to come through your mind. Even if we're not very conscious, it's still processing in there. We're still in there at some level. And so therefore what's coming out can be often a mixture of us and the other world. So sometimes we're saying something, but it comes out sounding it's like the other world saying it. Sometimes there are things, and you listen, you say, not sure the other world would say that. So maybe that's the medium having a little bit of a moment.
Coming up, you know, coming
into it. I mean, you sometimes get people going, oh, the medium's not strong enough. Well, that might be a thought of the medium rather than a thought of the other world, or the energy in the room isn't right. That might be, again, the feeling of the medium rather than necessarily the feeling of the other world. Again, not saying so is all cases, but again, we have to look at how that blending can come in. When I used to sit, excuse me, when I used to sit and I used to be speaking, and for me, what proved the spirit communication for me was that sometimes what would come through would be wholly opposed to my own beliefs at the time.
Yeah.
And when I'd hear that starting to come through, I'd be going inside, no. And what would happen with me, my knees would start, my legs would start to do this.
Yeah.
And you'd hear the spirit will go, no, just settle down, be calm. And then my knees would stop, as I would then just go, okay, I can't interfere. And I would just let it happen again, because otherwise I'd just bring it to a stop, because my mind was getting involved. And again, that can happen to us as we start to speak, or as we start to say something. Our own mind might go, oh, no, not having this, and pull away from it, you know. So it's quite normal if you sometimes have your own mind interfering, or your own mind pulling you in a different direction, you know. Again, we can have people that sometimes believe it's the other world when they're creating it more from within themselves. Again, remember, you are a spirit in the body. So, and you have a personality, you have a consciousness, you have a set of beliefs, you have understanding of certain things of the world. And so therefore, you know, even in the inspired states, you know, there's that crossover between us and them. Even in the trance states, there can be things that is the belief of the medium that will be tacked on or into the end of things that are being said. So it's better, you know, for everyone in this room listening to say, always think of trance as we, the spirit world and you working together. You know, people say, I want to get out of the way because I don't trust myself. You don't trust yourself. You were in the wrong game with this, because we have to learn to trust. You have to learn to let go and to let it prove itself. If the other world is really working with you, if the other world is really communicating through you, whether you're a platform medium, a healer, whatever it may be, they will endeavor to prove the reality of their existence time after time. That should give you the trust and the encouragement that the experience is real. If you're sitting there and doubting, if you're sitting there and saying, I don't believe this, this is me, and you keep doing that even after the proof may come to you, then you're deteriorating that blend between you and the other world. The other world aren't going to walk away from you. They're going to keep persevering and working. But it's important, you know, that what can come through, you know, when we're listening to the other world, it will often go beyond the experience of the medium. It might go beyond their knowledge. There may be information that comes that is predictive or not known to the medium at that point in time. There may be things that are given. When I demonstrate publicly, I will always say to the spirit world, bring something in just for me that proves that it's not my mind. Give me something during the course of this evening that goes beyond anything I could possibly know at that point, just for me, just as my little, you know, I'm sitting there, give me, you know, throw me a bone back. And a few years ago, I was doing a demonstration at a church, and during the things, I always say to people before we do a trance demo to always put their questions out to the other world mentally. And what I find fascinating is when during the trance, those questions are answered before the people get to put their hand up and ask them. So that to me proves a discard.
Intelligence.
In the middle of the demonstration, they turned around and said, and for those of you here that are researchers, and I thought, well, I could understand the term seeker, but I thought, why are you saying researchers? And then went on to say, we will help you with your scientific study. We can do this, we can do. And I'm thinking, well, what's that all about? The end of the demonstration, girl came up to me and she said, I just wanted to say I didn't get to ask my question because it was answered. I'm just about to start a PhD project. And I wanted to ask, will the spirit world be able to help me in my studies? Is that a fair thing to ask of them? And they brought it to her before she asked. So for me, I was just like, thank you very much. Not that it's doubting, but I actually always want to know that influence becomes an external. Because as you know, Ashley, I can talk for Britain. I can sit here out of the trance state and talk for Britain.
Sorry, ladies and gents at home, you realise you're all going to be on here till like 9 o'clock tonight, and this is only lesson one. Mark, it's because you're so passionate about it, and because you've got so many experiences that are just so amazing and so relevant, and we just never get the opportunity to sit with a working medium who's kind of done the hard yards and say, we're all just starting off and we're all at different places on this pathway, but actually we all deal with the same fears and the same worries and the same self-doubt and the same procrastination and self-sabotaging behavior that is the human condition. And trance is so delicate, like you say, the blending is just so intangible, and you have to be so patient with it, and so kind to yourself, and accepting, and allow spirit to be your teacher. That makes it, I think that's why it's got such magic and fascination to it, because it comes in so many shapes and sizes. But people are loving it. Penny Dimmock, thank you. You're saying, Mark, you're putting together the pieces that are missing in the jigsaw. So there's little gems dropping everywhere for everybody. Thank you so much. So before we kind of set some tasks and some homework, what we want to know is for people who are starting this maybe completely from scratch, and maybe people who have had a bit of a break, or maybe people that just want to start with some real intention for the next 2 weeks, with a bit of a 2-week challenge for you folks. How do we sit, and what are the major myths that you want to bust right here and right now?
And then I'll take you through, I'll describe a process for you. We won't do it because of obviously time, and we're using this method of working, but I'll describe a process of sitting. I have always been brought up to believe this, and wholeheartedly believe this to be true. There is nothing to fear from the spirit world. It's the living you want to watch, not the dead. And I've had that proved to me time after time in this life. So for me, if you have any fear, you need to get beyond that fear. You need to deal with that fear. Now, for some people, they always like to have an opening and a closing prayer when they sit, so that they're setting the intention.
Yeah.
And I think that is very beneficial. Remember that prayer is an intention reaching out to the divine. So it should be a positively led prayer. You know, sometimes you hear people's prayers and they're a litany of woe and negativity and stress and angst. And we want this prayer to be, you know, or this intention setting, either way, whichever you want to say, to reach out to say, you know, come and blend with me, come and bring that love, that power around us. Whether you're sitting on your own or sitting with someone else, again, you can do what's best for you as you and your group. You know, I have no fear going into anything about spiritual. Sometimes there have been experiences that have unsettled me, because like the cobwebbing, I used to be deadly scared of spiders, not anymore, but I used to sit in the cabinet and feel this happening and tickling, like as if there's a spider actually sitting on my lip, and it was just getting over the issue with the energy. So, but the spirit world, I don't believe, this is my belief, you have all of your people in the spirit world who are your friends and loved ones. You also have all of your guides and helpers in your spirit team that are working with you and supposedly overseeing your development. And then you have the divine power that oversees it all. And so for me, I personally believe that no one in that team is going to let you down. So therefore, when you go into your sitting, you know, leave fear and concern at the door, because if you are fearful, fear will manifest itself through you. So
through your own psyche.
Your own psyche will bring it up. And I could go into that forever and a day, because I can't tell you the amount of things people have told me and said, it's demonic this and it's demonic that. And then we found out it's their own fear of demonstrating or being in public or this or that, manifesting as a creature that they see before they sit. And it's not, to my belief, again, my own opinion, I don't believe the spirit world's doing that. I believe that's coming up from their own psyche inside. So put fears to one side. If you are fearful about something or unsure about something, then ask someone who knows. And again, somebody may give you an answer and you think, oh, I don't know whether I sit well with that. Every medium has an opinion. Every opinion is different. We don't all sing from the same hymn sheet because of our experience. But I will always look at the logic and deal with the logic, deal with the fear, deal with whatever's going on, so that we can get fear out the way and put it to one side, so that we can sit safe and sound and secure in our own mind before we start to reach out to the other world. I don't believe, I can remember years ago someone used to say, oh, you can't sit on your own for trance in case you can't get back. Well, the only
Yeah,
time
that
you're
one's
going
been
to
kicking
go,
around for years.
so the only time you're going to go to the spirit world and not come back is when you take your final breath.
Yeah.
And then you will go and you won't be coming back, unless you have a near-death experience and they yank you back. But that's when you sit, the other world know what they're doing. Remember, we're putting ourselves in the hands of the other world. So I always say to people, don't worry if you're sat on your own at home, like we're going to talk about sitting in the power. The other world know you're sat in a room on your own. So they're aware of the conditions around you. So you are looking to blend in the mind, to have that conversation, that flow, that journey, whatever it is that may come, just as you would sit for development normally. There's no difference with that. If then when you're sitting with other people, then you're going to have the potential of, somebody asked about building more power.
Yes.
Well, there's a great difference. When you sit with a group of people, there is a whole group of energy that's there. But again, we need, as mediums, and all of us need to do this, is develop our own power that we carry with us, the power of the spirit, because we carry that with us. That's our power, that's our battery that the spirit world come and work with. So, there was I'm rambling, but I'm going to say it anyway. There was a lovely story that Glyn told us about Gordon Higginson, and there was a medium who was demonstrating and Gordon was chairing. And this medium came to the end of the demonstration and said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to finish now because the power's leaving me. And the power in the room is going. And he sat down, and then someone else stood up and demonstrated. And then Gordon got up and said, well, the power didn't leave you, dear, you did. And this idea, but this sense that we hold and build that power as we sit, because we're building that energy within us. Every time we touch the other world, it's rubbing off on us. That power is building and blending with us. So it's building and growing every time we sit. Muriel Tennant had a lovely image of this, that the rollers that you use to clean your clothes.
Yes,
She
the
said,
lint roller.
every time you roll or blend with the spirit world, it's like the roller. A little bit of the clothing comes off onto the roller, so a little bit of the spirit world clings to you. And each and every time you sit more and more, a little bit more is there with you, a little bit more is there with you. Nice. And it builds and it grows. And it's true. As we sit with the other world, however we are sitting, there is an influence of that power that is blending with us and stays with us. Amazing. And will build with us and grow with us. So again, it's lovely to sit with a circle. And if you can sit with a circle, great. But if you can't sit with a circle, and there are many examples of trance and physical mediums who didn't get the opportunity to sit with circles and still sat and developed as fine mediums. Later on they may have then had circles available to them when things obviously became more prominent in the lives. But you still can sit in your own space safely and comfortably. Okay. Does that cover? Was there anything else you had on your list of myths?
I think that's kind of the main ones, and it's, I had a big long list of questions here, and actually through the intelligence of spirit, it's kind of just all unfolded in a really lovely conversational way anyway. So really the purpose of this whole series of 3 lessons is really just to capitalize on the fact that we can't have circles, physical circles, as in physically be with people, that we are at home, that you have some time, and Mark has graciously given his time. So do you want to kind of run through what we're going to do? So just for people that have missed the beginning of this, that are just joining, and hello for everyone that's joining, you're not late, you're perfectly on time, and you've got the benefit of going back onto the Facebook page and watching the replay from the beginning to listen to it all again as many times as you like. I have actually set up a Facebook group so that we can all encourage and support each other over the next 2 weeks, kind of be those people that can be on the journey with you, how you're experimenting at home and kind of sitting and how it's going for you. If you want to be a member of the group, then just drop me a little message on Facebook with your, if we're already friends, I can link you. If not, then you can just give me your email address and I can add you to the group, ready for in 2 weeks' time. But Mark, do you want to run through the kind of the task, the exercise that you want to set everyone?
Yeah, there's 2 things I'd like you to have a look at. So one of them is sitting in the power to sit. Now, Sitting in the power, a lot of mediums use it. I was introduced to it through working with Glyn, and there's sort of a multiple effect of sitting in the power. So here's the process. I'll explain it and break it down for you so you can kind of write it down and then have a practice with it at home. So begin your sitting however you're comfortable with sitting, with a prayer or a word of intention, however you want to bring it, calling on the other world, etc. Then as you sit, find some nice music that you really enjoy sitting to, that's something that's sort of gentle. You can sit in silence if you prefer to be a silent sitter, entirely up to you. But I often find if there's a little bit of music, it just drifts you along, allows the mind to drift. Again, find something that you feel that you enjoy. Then as you sit, start to focus on the breath and just find a nice gentle rhythm of breathing, just letting that breath come and go. Then as you follow the breath, allow your awareness to follow the breath inwards. So as you breathe in, follow the breath down into the lungs, feel the lungs and the rib cage expand. As you breathe out, follow the breath back up. Just do that for a little while, letting the body and the mind relax. Okay, so just taking your time. There's no rush with what you're going to do. Sit for as long as you want to sit comfortably for. Then as you're following that awareness inwards, start to be aware of the light and the power that you are. Just knowing that the body is the body, but the spirit is this light and this power within you. Become aware of this light, become aware of this power, however it's coming. This is your power, the power of your spirit, the power of your soul, building and building within you. Let it build. Every breath is letting it build, letting that light, letting that power build and grow to the point where you start to expand out beyond the confines of the body. So if you're sitting in a room at home, you're expanding out into that room, filling that room with the light and the power of your spirit. This is your light, your power that you're building here. Coming to know, this is me, this is what I am. The body is not you. The body is just the vehicle, okay? But the light and the power is you. So letting that light, letting that power expand, being aware of that, really get the feeling of that, practice that. Then as we expand that light and that power and we're filling the room, then let's invite the other world to come and join us. So we're not going straight from the off saying, spirit world, I want you here now. We're building our power first. So we're letting this building grow, this power grow. Then say to the other world, spirit friends, come and blend with me. Help me to be aware of your presence. Now you can use any variation of words there, but I say, help me to be aware of your presence. So you're not saying, let me see you, let me hear you, let me get this, let me go. You're leaving it open. Let me be aware of you, aware of your presence. So sending out that thought, then sit for a while. See what changes start to come. As you become aware through a feeling or a change, like the gentleman was asking, you may be aware of sensations, emotional changes, physical changes. You may see things, you may hear things. Don't put any pressure on yourself to get anything. We don't want to try to sit. We want to sit and allow just blending. As you become aware of anything, respond to the spirit world. Yes, I can feel that. Thank you. You don't have to say it out loud. I'm doing it now because I'm explaining it to you. But in your head, yes, I'm aware of you, or hello. You know, if you see someone, say hello. You know, if you hear something, respond. It's important that we're not just solely passive, sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
Because sitting in the power is about interacting with, consciously cooperating as we blend with the other world and as they blend with us. It's normally when I sit, that's the point when I kind of put in my intention or my prayer. So I sort of ask, please lead me, please show me, whatever it is I need to know, whatever you want to explain to me or wherever you want to take me, you know, I hand myself over to you. Spirit friends, show me the way, lead me, guide me. And then just sit. If you've got music playing, just sit with the music. Let the experience come. If your mind wanders, which, you know, you might be aware of noise outside or thinking, oh God, I didn't phone Sheila back when I should have phoned her earlier, and oh, I didn't do this. Bring the awareness back to the breath. Let the thought just go. Breathe in, breathe out, come back to that space. The spirit world don't disappear. Okay? Spirit world is still there. We've just put the phone down for the moment. You know, we've suddenly gone, oh, back to conscious reality. Move back in, keep sitting, move back in, keep sitting. for some people, that sitting and learning to stay focused is the biggest thing they need to learn for trance and for all mediumship, not just for trance, is to be able to sit and stay with that power. If you notice, sometimes people in a demonstration or in a reading, something throws them and then they say, oh, the person's gone. The person hasn't gone. They've lost the flow. So you can move back into the flow, back into the power, because it's not gone anywhere. It's not left you. So if you get disrupted at any point in sitting, bring yourself back to the breath. Let the light expand again if you need to. Even if you have to go back to the beginning, do it. The mind's got to learn to stay where you want it to focus. Okay. So we're having to train the mind with this. When people say, well, stuff happens without me doing any of that. Yes, it does. Mediumship is natural and can be spontaneous. All examples of mediumship can be spontaneous. But of course, that's not under our control when it's spontaneous. It's just happening because our minds moved into that moment and it happens. If we want to work with our mediumship where we can bring ourselves into those spaces for it to happen as we're sitting in circle, or as we're doing our readings or our demonstrations, we have to learn to bring the mind to where we want it, to keep it focused in what we want. So we're not trying to blank the mind. That's another big myth. Got to have a blank mind. Blank mind doesn't happen. Even when you're unconscious and asleep and think nothing's going on, your mind is still whirring away, your brain is still whirring away. So we're focusing it on the experience that we're getting when we're sitting. So we may be feeling something, seeing something. Be fascinated, be inquisitive as you sit. Don't allow yourself to doubt as you're sitting. If you see or hear or feel anything, analyze it afterwards if you want, when you're making a note of what you've seen and experienced. But don't sit there in the time of sitting doubting and questioning the reality of what's going on. Just accept what's happening as you're sitting. Listen to what's happening, feeling what's happening, sensing what's happening, however much or however little is happening. Even if you sit and feel like nothing is happening, still sit. Because you may not be aware of the other world, but it doesn't mean the other world aren't aware of you. So still give time to sitting, even if it's just in the peace and the stillness. Let it be there. Just let yourself sit with it. Let yourself become comfortable with it. So sit for however long you want, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour.
That was the other question, actually, is how long? Because some people talk about sitting for an hour, and to be honest, I like shorter, because actually I can make that appointment and stick to it. And actually, Dan, great question, Dan. You are reading my piece of paper. What's the best time to sit? Is it morning, when you get these people that wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and sit? I'd love to be able to do that, but if I sit at night, then I fall asleep.
I'm not a morning person, and I don't even think the other world would want to deal with me first thing in the morning. Some people are morning people. There isn't a particular best time. Okay. You know, we have a lot of things, you know, a bit like Halloween. People say, oh, the veil is much thinner on that night of the year, and therefore the spirit world are much easier to contact. Personally, that I don't know. I don't think whether it's day, night, evening, morning, it's whatever suits you and whatever fits in with your lifestyle and your schedule. You know, actually, you work and you have your family and you're doing all these wonderful things. So again, fitting in time is about how much you can fit in. You know, sitting longer and longer and longer doesn't necessarily mean better and better and better. The spirit world will make use of whatever time you can give. For some people, because of maybe physical and health conditions, they can only sit for so long and be comfortable. For other people, sitting can actually take them away from any pain and discomfort, and so they often want to sit for longer. So again, it's different for everyone. I think if you are not used to sitting and you want to sit for just 10 or 15 minutes a day, or if you can work up to sort of 20 minutes, that's lovely. When we used to be at the college, Glyn would get us to sit for an hour to an hour and a half in the morning, and it was blissful. But it would go like that. You'd think, well, that can't be an hour. That can't be an hour and a half. But it was. So you do what is right for you. If you can sit longer and get more used to sitting longer, then fine. If you can only fit in a short period of time in a day, then fine. Something is better than nothing. If you can't sit every day, because I don't want to give everyone a guilt trip that if you're not
so much homework,
you know, too much homework, too much things. So, and again, you know, those that listen to replay, you'll be listening to them whenever. So, you know, sit when you can, sit how long you can sit for and be comfortable to sit for. You know, choose pieces of music that are a certain length of time. So, you know, when that music's finishing, that's the time to start coming back. And before you come back, spend a moment to thank the other world for whatever you've been aware of. Thank them for being there. Thank them for whatever you've received, however great, however small, and then ask, that they continue to watch over and to bring whatever. If you've got any questions or you've got any requests for healing, I always think about putting those at the end just to send out a thought for others, because you're making use of that time. And so it's again good to utilize that. And remember, we open, if you've opened with a prayer, then close with a prayer. My thanks is that little mini prayer thanking them. But if you want to make it a more formalized prayer, then please do what's right for you. And so then, extend that sit for as long as you're comfortable to sit for. Don't sit and make it hard going. You should enjoy sitting. You should enjoy the experience of whatever happens, whether you go off or you stay present, whether you see things or you don't. Don't put this pressure on yourself. When you come out of your sitting, make sure you've taken time. So when you thank the other world, then what I want you to do is bring your awareness back to the breath, following the breath in, following the breath out. Feel the sense of the spirit world withdrawing. I do it that way because that's how I feel it happens. But for you, whichever way you feel they disappear. And then as you're focusing on the breath, bring your awareness back to the body. Now, don't just open your eyes because you'll be glazed over. You'll look like a bunny in the headlights. Focus to the breath. Each and every breath brings the awareness back to the body. Now, bear in mind, depending on how much you've gone off, you may not recognize you've gone off so much until you start trying to come back and then going, I can't move my body. Don't panic. Your body will often, when we go into these lovely deep states of relaxation, your body can go like a lump of cement and you might not be able to move it or knowingly move it. So as we focus to the breath, becoming aware of the body more and more, as we become aware of the body more and more, start wiggling fingers, stretching toes, moving the body. Still don't open your eyes at that point. Really make sure the whole of the body's back. Stretch, move, wriggle, a bit like waking up in the morning when you don't want to get out of bed. That kind of, oh, do I have to get up now? Do I have to come back? Take a few gentle deep breaths. When you're fully present, then allow your eyes to open. Okay.
Nice.
So that's the sitting in the power. Do it for however long. I'm currently working on things. We've got on one of the websites, we've got Glyn's versions of sitting in the power and things like that. So that's on our listeningtospirit.com.
I'll put all of the links on the chat, everybody.
So people can have a look at those. So the other thing I'd like you to do,
2 bits of homework. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, you don't get away with it. We've got 2 weeks. So we've got 2 things. Other bit of homework is really useful, regardless of whether you're looking at the translate. So sitting in the power is for everything. Whether you're healer, trance, mental mediumship, that blending, always about the blending. So the other thing that's useful to do, get a pen and paper, and every day, again, just sit maybe before or after you've done your sitting in the power or another point in time, entirely up to you, and just say to the spirit world in your mind, what is it you want to tell me today? And whatever thoughts come into your mind, just write them down. Just trust them. Do that every day. And what we're doing is we're opening our mind to the creative thought and inspiration. I did this with a group of students about 2 years ago and got them to do it every day. And one of my students messaged me and he said, you won't believe this. He said, I've started writing poetry. I don't do poetry. But he started to write these beautiful poems about life and about nature and about the world. So he was opening his mind to the inspiration of the other world, which is part of the doorway to leading on to other things. So if again, you can do as little or as much homework as you want, because I'm not going to be checking and ticking and marking you off on a register. But these are things that if you start doing them, what we're doing is we're building that power in the sitting in the power, which again, do as often and as for as long as is comfortable for you. Okay. Don't put yourself through several hours thinking it will get you there quicker. Just keep doing it. The patience of just sitting and doing is important. If you've got a garden to go out and sit in, it's lovely to sit in the power in nature or in the forest or in a field or beach, wherever. Nature is
now you're talking my language, Mark.
Get out there and be in the garden with the butterflies and the birds and everything else and the flowers. So do that blending and then do this sitting and this writing. This isn't automatic writing, this is just inspired. But what you're doing is you're, rather than, you know, with mental mediumship, people are going, right, give me your name, give me this, give me that, trying to get information. But often we don't open ourselves to the flow of thought. And so trance is a part of opening to the inspired thought that comes. And so I think it's really important if we can start to just get used to acknowledging what comes into our head, writing it down, acknowledging what comes in, writing it down. We're opening to that flow of thought in the conscious state. We're here, we're aware. The other world can talk to us and be aware of us without us having to go very far, because all we're doing is moving the mind. We're moving the mind and they're there. That's how natural mediumship is to us. And that's how it would be lovely that if all of us were able to take away all of the restrictions and, oh, I've got to do this and I've got to do that if I'm going to work, when actually all we have to do is move the mind and go, spirit friends. And then that's how natural mediumship really is and can be, if we let go of all of the things holding us back, saying, got to do this, got to do this, got to do that.
Okay. Amazing. So thank you, Mark. And thank you so much for your time and your generosity of spirit, for just your desire to help other people, like you say, just to realize the potential that they have to be able to do this as such a natural process, and we make it difficult. So you heard it, folks. You've got two kind of things to do if you haven't already been sitting in the power. Mark's given you a really lovely overview. Just some things to remember. Just make sure your phone is turned off, or on airplane mode. You're not going to get disturbed. The dog's not going to come and start pouring at you, or the cat. The family know that you're going to be doing it. You just need some quiet time. Just see if you can relax your mind. You're not thinking about what's happening next door. There is a make sure you've not had a really big meal, because otherwise, if you sit quietly in a nice warm room with the curtains drawn, then you know what's going to happen. Especially after lunch. So thank you, everybody that's joined us. There's been so many people online and everyone's really enjoyed it, Mark. So thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for coming. Thank you also for being here, Ron, and everyone else. I know we can't say hi to you all.
I know, hello.
But it's really wonderful. And again, those of you that are watching on the replay as well, hello and goodbye now, because we're at the end. But you know, I hope that as you go with things, you know, wherever you're at in your development, you know, just be assured there's questions that I've seen go up about when we're sitting and what's happening. Those are the things we're going to come into part 2 about the things that may occur when we're sitting, and hopefully we can bring in more of your lovely questions, because there's so many of you that have got great interest in this. So we'll try and do, and again through the groups and things, as much as we can to support you.
Thank you. So yeah, don't forget there's a Facebook group. If you want to join it, drop me a message with your email address and I can add you to the group. And then as these questions come up, you can ask them. And then between us, actually, the knowledge is there, or people may have experienced similar things, and we'll be able to support you through this next 2 weeks. Mark is going to be back not next Friday, but the Friday after. And we're going to be doing part 2. So a lot of the things that you're asking will naturally come up in part 2, kind of going deeper in our working with spirits, building to part 3, which, like you say, if you haven't been on the lives, if you haven't been part of this process, if you haven't been joining in the group, you might not get access to part 3, because we want to keep it something that really feels like it's building towards the work and sitting, and it is all about the work. So thank you for everybody that's been here and showed so much interest in it. Just a little note for people who love Mark and what Mark does. I'm going to put some comments, some links in the chat, which goes to Mark's webpage. It's got all about Mark, everything he's doing, all of his downloads, books, everything that's there. They're also going to put a PayPal link on here. And I know Mark don't say anything. He's doing this out of the goodness of his own heart. And there's no charge for this trance workshop, this masterclass. But there will be a PayPal link on there, and it is pay what you feel moved to pay. So thank you so much, Mark, for your time. Really appreciate it. Super. We're going to let you get back on with your weekend, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Next Friday, we're going to have the Reverend Kevin Lee, who he hasn't been on this. He's probably going to watch on the replay. He's going to be in the house, and he's going to be talking about precipitation mediumship, another really interesting form of mediumship, which is where spirit precipitate the art directly onto the card without human intervention, which should be really interesting. So tune in next Friday for that. And then the Friday after will be Mark for part 2.
Yay!
I tell you what, it's just like we are busy. We are busy in lockdown.
Can't hold us back.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone that's joined, and everyone we haven't had a chance to say hello to, but we will look at all the comments afterwards. And have a great weekend. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone. Have a good 2 weeks.
See you later. Bye. Bye.